We have Samsonite's chairman and CEO, Tim Parker, joining us this morning on First Up. Good morning to you, Tim. Wow, look at these numbers. You know, I was really impressed with the surge we saw in your net sales in China and India. How do you increase sales by 57% and 41% respectively?
Well, first of all, Susan, it's fantastic brands. So both our American Tourister brand and our Samsonite brand have performed fantastically well. And secondly, and most importantly, our products have been really appreciated by our customers.
Yeah,
so,
huge numbers, though. We're looking at huge multiples. And you had your best year in Australia as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fantastic results.
And Indonesia is your next big hotspot.
Indonesia is our big next hotspot, and I think a lot of it is just down to the fact we're making luggage which is light, which is durable, which is very attractive, of course. You know, a case is not just a boring old bit of a thing you carry around. You know, people look at these things. They want something that's attractive.
It's a status symbol, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so Tim, how much does it cost me now to buy a Samsonite? Does it go up because of the materials you have to use? We're talking about plastic. You have to throw in some metals and wheels, etc., etc.
Yeah. Well, there's a bit of commodity price inflation around the world, but actually, I think we've managed to keep our products really good value for money. So you can buy an American Tourister case for $100, or you can buy a Samsonite case for $300 or $500. So we have something for just about everybody.
Yeah, and like Honhai and like Apple, you're manufacturing a lot of your suitcases here in the Asia Pacific, is that right?
Absolutely. The vast majority of what we make is made not so very far away from Hong Kong and in China, many countries actually of Asia. We have some European manufacturing, so we're a global manufacturer and we're a global brand.
But what about wage inflation? I know that everyone's been paying their workers a whole lot more in China.
Sure.
Is that the same for you as well?
Yeah, I think that's a consequence, you know, of rising standards of living, which is a good thing, and every manufacturer is having to cope with that and think about smarter ways of making their products.
Well, how much more are you paying your workers now? How much more do you have to pay per worker wages?
In China, I mean, you're seeing wage inflation of 20%, and you know, that's been going on for some time, and I think in many respects, you know, that's a good thing, because people are actually seeing some of the benefits of economic growth now, and of course, a lot of people are going to be our customers of the future, we hope.
But that also cuts down on your profit margins. Are you going to take maybe your manufacturing elsewhere, considering you're paying 20% each and every year in wage inflation?
Yeah, but actually the costs of wages are only a proportion of the total product cost. So I think we can accommodate some inflation. Of course, the other challenge is commodity price inflation. So we're getting smarter about the way we make cases. And yes, I think, you know, manufacturing may gravitate to some other countries. But as I said, we see ourselves as a global company. We sell to everybody around the world, and we can make in lots of countries of the world.
Now, how are you going to get around the high oil prices? You said make your products more smartly. How do you do that, though?
Well, I think
you can't take out oil. You can't take out metals.
No, but I mean, we have a wonderful product called Cosmolite, which is made out of essentially
the light plastic,
right? Yeah.
It doesn't dent, apparently?
Exactly. Because it's so thin and so strong, actually, you know, you can make these products with less materials. So if you can find the ways to actually create materials which are super light, super efficient, you can actually, you know, improve your cost structure.
Now, we were just talking earlier about your big markets. Is Europe still your big market? Because taking a look at these numbers from Asia in your latest report, you know, Asia looks to be getting on top
Asia grew
now.
last year by almost a half, which is an incredible result.
50%.
And 50%, you know, I mean, you can't keep that up forever, obviously, but you know, there is a huge demand for our products because travel is expanding in Asia so fast. And Europe did pretty well too. But because of the relative growth rates, inevitably Asia will become a much bigger proportion of our business in coming years.
And there's a sovereign debt crisis in Europe as well, recession.
So, although, funnily enough, we did pretty well in Italy and Spain, which you would have thought would be quite tough markets. So I think the thing is that although the world economy has had a few ups and downs, you know, people are traveling around still an enormous amount. I think this year the number of tourists around the world is going to reach just about over 1 billion.
Now, Tim, you said that your sales have increased 50%, but if I'm a Samsonite shareholder, why haven't I seen that reflected in the share price? You're still below the debut IPO price, right?
Yeah, we're pretty close, although it has to be said that since we floated, the Hang Seng, I think, has gone down 10%, so in relative terms, dividends, it's not a bad performance. And if I could run the share price, Susan, I mean, we'd be in a completely different place.
Right, that's why they're called free markets, Tim.
My job is to keep the company performing well, and I believe that ultimately our shareholders and potentially new shareholders will catch up with the fantastic events in the business, and the share price will move accordingly.
As you said, some pretty strong numbers. Are going to reward shareholders? Are we looking at a dividend this year?
We are. We're looking at a maiden dividend, and we will be distributing, I think, a decent amount out of the business.
Right. How much would that be?
We're going to be paying out about $30 million, which I think from memory is 1 or 2 cents a share.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And we've indicated, we will have a progressive dividend policy, so we'll continue to increase our dividends in line with what we hope will be sharply rising profits.
And you're okay for cash? You're not going to hit the markets up either in debt markets or
we generate cash. We're in a fantastically solid position balance sheet-wise,
Yeah, and acquisitions, you're not going to ask, of course, right?
Yeah, no, we're looking at acquisitions. We aren't in any active discussions with people at the moment, but I think I've said, we're ambitious to grow our company. We've got a very competent management team, so watch this space is all I can say, Susan.
All right, Tim. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your time. Tim Parker there, the Samsonite's chairman and CEO, joining us on the program this morning.